my name is Juliet Imo. Welcome to another episode of Walking Through Infertility. Last week, I started the story of my very first IVF and my very first journey into pregnancy. I continue that story today. So, like you are aware, if you had watched the last episode, if you haven't, you can get it here. The link is left in the description board. You can click on it and watch just to get the background of this of the story. While you're at it, you can also check the playlist for the previous episodes, so you have an idea of where we're coming from. It will help you to understand the story because it's actually flowing from one episode into another. And if you also know anybody you think might benefit from watching this stories or listening to my stories, please do share the link with them. Back to my pregnancy journey, my road to motherhood. So I got pregnant through my first IVF. And when I was about 8 weeks, I left London and came back to Nigeria, 8 weeks plus. I came back to Nigeria. I was still on my progesterone shot and my estrogen tablet. And I was supposed to be on that for 12 weeks. But towards the end of 12 weeks, I'll start breaking it down, reducing the doses as just so that my body, I will wean it gradually. So everything was going well. And if you remember, I had mentioned that I was spotting, even up until my 8 weeks, I was still spotting, but tiny. So I wasn't bothered about it anymore because the baby was still doing fine. Heartbeat was strong, baby was growing, everything was going very well. So I was no longer that worried about the spotting, even though, yes, I used to pray to God. I was believing that it will completely stop so that I'll have my peace. But I wasn't as worried as I was about it when I first saw the spotting the blood prior to my pregnancy test. Unfortunately for me, I continued to spot, but I think after the 12 weeks mark, it stopped completely. I stopped spotting. There was no spotting anymore until when I hit 16 weeks. I'd registered for antenatal, so I used to do my monthly checks, and everything was progressing as it should until 16 weeks. I remember I was in the kitchen preparing lunch when I just felt this blood push, boom, and the floor where I was standing, where the spot where I was standing on was filled with blood. I thought I had lost the baby. There was no sign, no pain, nothing until that blood just flowed out. So I called my husband, I cleaned up, wore a pad, and then we rushed off to the clinic. When we got to the clinic, doctor checked me, admitted me, checked. My cervix was closed. There was no fetal distress. Baby's heartbeat was going normal. Everything seemed to be okay. So I was not asking, so where is the blood coming from? He had no response for it. So, and it was a professor in gynecologist, an obstetrician that I was seeing. I didn't want to take any chances. So I was placed on bed rest. I was given some medications. I think one of them was muscle relaxant, the Ventolin or so. And that was it. That was all I was given. But after that, that one-off episode. There was no further blood, just the usual spot started again. I was in the hospital for like 3 days. Everything was okay. Then I left, went back home. I decided to rest. I stopped cooking, stopped going to the market. I wasn't driving anymore. I just stayed on the bed and just take my bath, lie on the bed, trying to reduce my activities as much as possible so that we wouldn't hear any stories. Because by this time, everybody knew I was pregnant. Pregnancy, I was beautifully pregnant, and everything was going well. I had people who were willing to drive me around even if I had to go to anywhere. Okay, so we were still okay. I resumed my antenatal, was doing my antenatal. But between that 16 weeks, I think some days later, I still had serious bleeding. Went back to the hospital, everything was fine. Now, let me wait a bit. If for me, when I think about it now, at this point in my heart, I was asking now, I didn't ask myself those questions then. But today I sit down and ask myself, why did I not go back to the UK? Where at least I knew that they had more sophisticated equipment. Or why did I not look for a hospital where they had neonatal care? Why? Because somehow I believed that I was going to carry that baby to 10. I didn't doubt it at all. I had prayed and fasted for this baby, and this baby I was going to have. So, as far as I was concerned, all of these were just lies of the enemy to steal from me, and I wasn't going to give in to those lies. Is it wrong to take steps, legal, moral, medical steps to protect yourself just in case? Did I think that going back to the UK or looking for a hospital where they had good and efficient neonatal pediatric care was going to mean I was doubting I was going to lose the baby or doubting I was going to keep the baby? I don't know. But if the clocks were going to be turned today, I probably would have taken other steps that I didn't take for this pregnancy. Because I continued having these issues of on and off spotting through my 20th week. When I hit my 24-week mark, on the 20, I went for my 6 month scan. Baby was fine, everything was fine. It was at that point the sonographer mentioned to me that I was carrying a baby girl. I didn't want to know, so I wasn't happy that he told me, but I didn't ask. He just mentioned it. I didn't ask, so I wasn't happy, but it wasn't a big deal. I let it go. I didn't mention it to my husband. I decided to keep it to myself until when the baby was born. That was my 28th, when I was 24 weeks gone. Now, the doctor kept telling me I should try to get to 28 weeks and all that. I should just keep pushing. Everything will be fine, irrespective of the bleeding and all that. I should get to the point where the baby will be fine. So I was looking forward to at least let the baby be matured enough until if anything will happen. But I didn't think of protecting my baby or protecting myself, ensuring that if anything happens, they had a good neonatal care to manage this. I didn't ask those questions that I should have asked. And I advise any woman to ask, especially any woman that is having issues with conception or having to go through assisted reproductive helps. If you do get pregnant and you decide to register in a hospital, ensure that those hospitals are equipped to manage neonatal, premature babies, neonatal cases, or at least ensure that they have ways to move the babies from their hospital protected to the place where they will get neonatal care. Okay, so I did that 6 month, 24-week scan on a Thursday. I woke up the next morning with cramps. In the middle, cramps woke me up the next morning, being on a Friday. I was feeling cramps, and I think the kind of things you feel when you're in labor cramps. Before this time, even when I had that heavy bleed, I had made up my mind I wasn't going to lose this baby. But I guess over the years, over the weeks, I've kind of become afraid or something. And I remember that particular morning when when the pain woke me up, one of the things I said was, I am tired. Okay. And for me, being a Christian and knowing how negative things work against, negative words work against people, I regret making that statement. True. You might not understand where I'm coming from, but I think it wasn't a good statement for me to make. So I went to the hospital that morning. I didn't even bleed. I just noticed a little lump of blood come out. I dressed up and went to the hospital. I was placed on bed rest. My cervix was checked. It was closed. So they said I should rest. They gave me Ventolin and they gave me Ventolin tablets and asked me to rest, most relax. So I rested. Everything was fine. Then later on that Friday, I had a massive bleed, massive one. In short, as far as I was concerned, the baby, because I was standing up when the bleed happened. So I had to close my legs to ensure, in my head, I'm trying to protect the baby. So the baby, even if the baby falls off, the baby won't fall, the head won't hit the ground. So I closed my leg, standing until the doctor came, had to help me, checked and said, no, no, it wasn't the baby, that it was just blood. But I was standing in the pool of my blood. I was rushed, I cleaned up, the chair was brought in, I cleaned up, I was wheeled into the ward again, and my service was again checked, and he said my service was closed. And I'm like, if my service is closed, where is all this blood coming out from? Anyway, I continued to rest. So Friday, after that Friday incident, Saturday, there was no pain, there was no bleeding, not even a spot. Sunday, there was no pain, there was no bleeding, not even a spot. Early hours of Monday morning, being the 28th of April 2008, the pain started. I thought we had crossed that limit. The cramp started again, and within 2 hours of the cramp, I had delivered of my baby girl. She came out alive, but within 10 minutes, she died in my arms because there was no doctor on duty. The nurse was confused. She was asking herself, where will she take this baby to now? I was watching them. They were trying to use oxygen, manual oxygen, something that looks like a pump to pump the baby. So there was no neonatal care. I watched, helplessly watching. My baby cried, closed mouth. At the point, and I said, please, can I? At a point, I said, please, can I have her? So they handed her to me, and I held her. She had her hands like this on her chin, and I looked at my baby, and she went, and I thought she was coming back to life. So I said, no, no, she's coming back to life. I didn't know it was her last breath. I didn't know that was my baby's last breath. She died in my arms. That was the last time I got pregnant. And the last time I had a baby, my own baby, in my arms. Sometimes I still feel guilty. I still think I didn't do enough to keep her. Sometimes I think I should have been smarter. Because you know what? I've seen babies 5 months, 20 weeks, survive. My baby was 24 weeks and 4 days. She weighed 1 kg. She was a strong girl. She wanted to leave. Maybe I failed her. I don't know. I thought, God, I'm crying. I thought I've outgrown this. I thought I've forgiven myself. I thought I had moved on, but here I am now crying. I came out from the labor room and my husband was just standing by the door and I said, babe. I said, babe, go and see your baby. She looks so much like you. And I said, her name is Chimamaka. Let's call her Chimamaka. And I walked away and went to the room. And I lay there on that bed and looked up and I said, God, what did I do? Why? What did I do? What did I do? Have I not suffered enough? My mom said, stop crying. She didn't want to stay. I said, don't. I said, no, please. My younger brother came and broke down and cried. Oh, my family, everybody was coming in. I was trying to be strong. I was trying to hold it together for them. I was trying to hold it together. It's not an easy thing for a woman. Oh, that would have been, that was our 6th year. February, 2 months prior to that time, was our 6th year. So we're looking forward to this. We had bought things, we had made arrangements, but it wasn't to be. That was how we lost Chimamaka. That was how we lost the pregnancy we had waited 4-5 years. That was how we lost the baby we had waited 6 years for. I went on to have subsequent IVF treatments. I'll probably share those stories later on as we go on. But hopefully my next episode will be talking about some of the cases I mentioned. I'm hoping to get somebody to come in to tell us more about polycystic ovaries, fibroids, polyps, endometriosis. I have a friend who had a very bad case of endometriosis. She's a medical doctor, a gynecologist based in the UK. I'm hoping she'll be able to come and share, tell us not only her own experience, but what to expect, how to treat it, and how to navigate this world. Thank you very much. If you know anybody who might benefit from this next week's topic, please do share the link. Thanks for the support, for the comments, for the encouragement. Let's continue to build this community and continue to create awareness. Thank you. Bye. I'm sorry that I cried. Bye.